Well, so the main event, Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson, Dana White did say after the fight that not to discredit anything that Gaethje did, but that he thought that Tony Ferguson just looked off. How much of the differences in this fight week and the atmosphere in the arena do you think may have played into that fight?
What I actually think played a big factor was he was like, if you remember, like he was supposed to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov in April 19th. They announced that fight in November. So he's basically been in camp preparing for Khabib since November. You've seen Khabib fight. You know exactly what's coming. He's going to wrestle you for 25 minutes. Justin Gaethje is not that. So when you're in camp for 4 months and then you all of a sudden get not only a change in opponent, but a change in opponent in a drastically different fighting style. And let's not forget, Tony Ferguson, to make a point when this fight was going to take place in Fresno at the Tachi Palace, and then it got canceled, Tony Ferguson took it upon himself to still weigh in and make weight when he didn't have to, just to prove a point. So he basically cut down to 155 pounds twice in 1 month with a change of opponent from an incredible grapple-heavy, top-heavy wrestler to someone who has insane cardio and a chin of granite and knockout power. So to say Tony Ferguson was slow might be true, but I think there were a lot of factors in the last-minute change and some of Tony Ferguson's choices to cut weight so many times between this fight that played a factor.
Yeah, definitely an odd set of circumstances playing out over the past several months. So what do you think the future holds for Ferguson now?
I want him to fight Conor. I think he should fight Conor. Khabib should fight Justin Gaethje for the unification. The winner should fight each other and the losers should fight each other. I think that's win-win for everyone. If Tony Ferguson beats Conor and Khabib beats Justin Gaethje, there's that fight once again. If Justin Gaethje beats Khabib, we could get a rematch of an insane fight, or Conor could finally fight Justin. Conor does not deserve a title shot. The next highest ranked fighter would be Tony Ferguson. And beating Tony Ferguson, there would be no argument that Conor should get the next fight. So a Final Four lightweight tournament would be good with Khabib, Justin on one side and Tony versus Conor on the other. Would be the perfect scenario in my mind.
That would be very exciting. Of course, Conor McGregor already on Twitter chirping Gaethje. What are the chances that fight goes down before a unification bout?
I can't imagine a world, but I've said that Conor's cut the line on more than a few occasions. Dana White's already adamant that Khabib will fight Justin Gaethje this summer, probably on Fight Island, wherever that is. That's still a mystery. So I don't want to say 0%. I'll say there's a 1% chance Conor McGregor fights for the title next, just because it's Conor McGregor.
In terms of a return to action, I mean, already great for the UFC that it's this first sport back in action amid this whole coronavirus pandemic. And then 4 out of the 5 fights on the main card ended a knockout. Could they have asked for a better result?
No, hell no. They were the same way. Like, even the prelims had a bunch of decisions. There were no bad fights. Like, even the Michelle Waters Carlos Esparza fight, which a lot of people thought was a little boring. It wasn't boring. It was just kind of sandwiched into a bunch of insane fights on its own right. I think that was a really exciting high-level martial arts scrap. So if Dana White was trying to build a perfect scenario for coming back, this is the card to do it. I mean, you have to fill 2 hours of time on ESPN. So if they had 4 flash knockouts on ESPN, then they would have had to fill time and people might have gotten bored. To have all these decisions, but not only decisions, exciting decisions in heavyweight contests, Pettis Cerrone, the Michelle Waters and Esparza fight, and Bryce Mitchell emerged as a superstar after this scenario. It was the perfect prelim to lead into an insane main card of the Greg Hardy to Castro fight. Might not have been the most technical, but people are at least invested in Greg Hardy. Answered a lot of questions in his own right. But yeah, home run. If I'm Dana White, this was a home run.
I know it might be hard to pick, but which was your favorite bout to watch?
Ooh, I always really enjoy watching Dominic Cruz fight, and Henry Cejudo. I think I was super excited for that fight. I wish it wasn't a co-main event, because I wish it got the shine it deserved. The main event was insane, but I'll say the co-main event was a treat to watch, just because Dominic Cruz hasn't fought since like 2017 when he lost, and he was coming up against Henry Cejudo. So I'll say the co-main event, just because I was so heavily invested in that fight, even leading up to the fight, even before it happened. I was excited for it.
Now, Francis Ngannou spoke about being frustrated about the state of the division Understandably so, and he comes out and finishes off an opponent very quickly again. How long until he does get a title shot, and when he finally does he take the belt?
That's the $1 million question. It's up to whenever Stipe and DC fight. Supposedly it's August. It might be September. But let's not forget, Stipe is a first responder in the state of Ohio, so he has his hands are a little full outside of the fight world. He says around then he's gonna fight Daniel for the trilogy. That's a no-brainer, and then Francis will get the winner. So I'm gonna say winter, maybe early 2021 at the earliest, which would be disappointing. Just because there's no one else for Francis to fight. If he wants to stay active, maybe he could just take a fight to stay active. But if I'm his coach, I'd just say calm down. You're the number one contender, rightfully so. And the winner of whoever wins that fight the next fight will most likely be Stipe Francis, because if Daniel Cormier wins, he's going to retire. Stipe should fight for the vacant title, and that should be against Francis. And then say Stipe beats DC and sends him off into retirement on a loss. Francis is up next. So I think no matter what, Stipe will fight Francis next. It's just a matter of when and whether Stipe is the reigning champion or if the fight is for the vacant championship.